go. Oh, the way I see it. At least I can put it up on YouTube and other people can. They'll be like, oh, I'm sorry, I missed your thing. I missed your thing. I'm so sorry. I had a baby, you know. And and then, well, it's up online. You can go watch it.
Did you see the belly dancing?
No, I was kind of wanting to get away from the crowd at that. That would have been fun. I heard the music, though. I was in the hallway.
It was.
Yeah.
It got better.
You're like, it got better.
I mean, it wasn't the bowls, so that was okay.
Yeah.
So what do we deal with the bowls?
Oh, the deal with the bowls? Are you supposed to levitate with them? But oh wait, let me send one more thing that didn't get delivered to the boyfriend. Let me send something to the girlfriend too. It's her son that was here that was really shy. I think he would really like this class here. But hang on just a second, and we'll go ahead and we'll get started here. There it is. Okay. I'm going to put this on Do Not Disturb, so I won't be disturbed. There we go. Yay! Okay, well, 3 minutes after 2, better start now and then see if anybody shows up here. I think the last class, I think they had about 3 or 4 people. And then, but yeah, I think a lot of it is that folks are just kind of pooped after a while, and especially with the power outages, a lot of people are going home because, you know, losing power and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
it just called, they had a ton of rain and wide.
Oh,
So
yeah.
power was fluctuating there too.
And I was inside during the storm, but I did see that the plaza is just covered in old palm leaves. I don't know if that was from today or if that was from, probably, I would think so. It just,
Wow.
yeah, it got real interesting. So anyways, the thing that's going to be tough about this, it's going to be kind of hard to see what I'm doing. And it's not a hands-on thing. I mean, I was going to say, like, you know, if we had a bunch of people be like, don't touch my gear, because I don't want people saying, I can't see it, and then wanting to, you know. And then sometimes, you know, when folks hand my device back to me, you know, it's like, why did you delete that? You know, it's like, I didn't, I was just, you know, grabbing it like this, you know, like you're supposed to. And I'm thinking, okay, so anyways, I've had enough of those things happen before. And then the other things too, there's just a lot of cooties going around too. And I just, so luckily some of the screens are big enough to see from where you're sitting and stuff. So first off, your smartphone, is that what you brought? Do you own any tablets, laptops, anything like that at home?
They're all broken.
Oh, they're all broken. Well, good, because I got a couple broken ones I'm going to show, just for fun. I was going to show that. But I brought 7 devices.
If I hook like 3 of the tablets up together, I can sort of use one. I mean, they all broke in different ways.
Oh, okay, yes, yeah.
So it's like we hook them all up, and it's a mess, and it's dangerous. But
That's so funny. So yes, if you want to see something up close, then I'll hold it and you can try to look at it. But no big deal, because it's pretty self-explanatory. And before I'll start, too, I also wanted to find out what forms of creativity were you interested in looking into? And this includes writing?
I got my bachelor's in photography at art school.
There you go, photography. We can focus on smartphone photos, because there's a lot to learn about that. I'm sorry?
I'm looking to move away from just using my phone.
Oh, okay.
I got a camera, but without the computer, I'm not putting it on my phone, but
Yeah.
you know. So I'm in the market looking for a new computer.
Okay. My Sony camera, which I use mostly for video clips and stuff too. It's kind of a DSLR, if you know what that is. Okay, so you know, you studied
Yeah.
photography, so you know what a DSLR is, I'm sure. Even if it was before digital photography,
Well,
it's still.
everything I did was old school.
Yeah, yes. Yeah,
But
so
I
you
taught
probably used an
myself.
SLR
Yeah.
back then. It was probably 35 millimeter mostly.
No, mostly 4x5 and 8x10.
Nice.
And my Hasselblad.
There you go.
But that was then.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I just have a Nikon. With a really nice lens, but I probably need to upgrade the body.
Well, in the 1980s, I learned darkroom techniques and stuff like that. It was all black and white.
I lived in a darkroom. I did color too.
There you go. You did color in a darkroom. See, that's awesome. Yeah, that's
I can
really cool.
Do pretty much anything blind.
And then back in the days, it was, VHS, and then for audio, it was, multi-track tape. And in those days, you can take a cassette tape, and if you have the right kind of recorder.
Yeah, there's your 4-track and
Yes, exactly. So what it would do with the cassette is, this is left and right side A, and this would be left and right side B. And instead of playing side A and then side B, it would be all at the same time.
so like a reel-to-reel.
And my 4-track player that I had in the 1980s was a cassette 4-track.
Okay, most people had those.
And of course, it was really funny, when you're done with your, 30 minutes on side A, you flip it over and it's the same thing backwards, the 4 tracks back. So, okay, so now you know what I'm talking about. So anyways, yeah, that's my background is analog, everything analog this, analog that. And then I got into some word processing and a little bit of digital stuff with Mac Paint. Actually, my household ended up getting a 1984. This was, I think, the first or second
Apple
edition
IIe.
Macintosh, and this was the Macintosh that had the 128K RAM. Of course, no hard drive.
Was it the all-in-one?
It was the box. Yes, it was the beige box.
Yeah, the beige
With the
box
little
that had-
black and white screen.
Yes.
And the only peripheral was the keyboard and the mouse at that time. And then we had the external drive and the dot matrix printer that also did graphics as well. And so Mac Paint was really fun for me. And you could save those on, the floppy disks. And there was no spell check, so that was a real hindrance, though, considering my educational experience.
So, okay. Mac Paint was the software.
Yes.
Okay. So I must be older than you because I programmed like Apple IIes and
Yeah.
64s.
Yeah. So the Apple IIe, I don't know what kind of it was. It was probably back in Turtle Graphics back then because.
There were no graphics. You had to put them in. You had to-
Yeah. So that's what they would call. We would call that Turtle Graphics. Did you ever call that where you had this little thing and you tell it to go this way and then that way and it would draw a line?
No, I had to write it all out, all in code.
Yeah. This was in code. This was programming in code. We called it Turtle Graphics when we were kids, and there was very little you could do with it.
Yeah. I mean,
But I think they called it Turtle because that was so slow. I mean, it's just this little cursor that would draw a line, and you tell it how far to go and how thick the line, and when to stop and when to turn. And you just basically simple line drawings. But
and
that
did
was.
you save your stuff on cassette tape?
It was. This was the 5-inch floppies.
The big floppies.
Yes.
Those were the fancy.
And we had, of course, I'm sure you remember the Trash 80, the good old TRS 80 Tandy Radio Shack pieces
Yes.
of junk. And those things were noisy. You turned them on, it sounded like some kind of nuclear eruption going on. And every time I'd walk by the classroom that was full of Trash 80s, the door was shut. You're walking down the hall, and it sounds like your ear is ringing. There's that ringing sound, and then, oh gosh, so those were horrible.
Dante loved being on this conversation.
So getting the Mac was really cool. Well, this will be up on YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the official class. We're just doing intros right now. But it's cool to know some of your background, too. But anyways, yes, as you know, my name is Jason T. Ingram, born and raised Portland, Oregon. Been here, this is coming up on my second year here pretty soon. And everybody calls me Boo, even the bank calls me Boo. And
Dante said he was
so
installing
had the
some
radio
guy,
show for
his
a
name
while
was Boo.
as Boo Bear. Yep. So
And he's like, no, his name was Jason.
who's Boo? No, people
Is
call me
this-
Jason when they're mad at me.
Well, he didn't know. He just saw that.
Yeah, because that was what they were assigned to. So, anyways, it's going to be hard to stay focused because you and I are going to be able to just talk and talk and talk. So, try not to be mean. So, I do have an agenda. Yes, and the agenda is starting off with talking about software, talking about hardware. So, I'm going to go through the 4 basic operating systems that you and I will probably use. And 2 were Apple, and the other 2 aren't Apple. So do you know the main operating system for Apple, what they call it?
Linux.
That would be, I hardly know anybody that uses Linux. So you do, you use Linux. Awesome, that means you got access to it, because I'm going to talk about open source here in a little bit, so woohoo.
Oh, okay.
And so yay, so I'm glad that you got that kind of background. And then so anyways,
Hard to live in Portland and not
we've
know
got-
everybody from Intel.
and so anyways, we've got the Apple operating system. Right now I think we're still at OS X. I don't have an Apple that can be upgraded to anything. All my Apples are old. They're all 10, 15 years old. And as we know, because their hardware lasts a little longer than this piece of junk, which I will, these 2 pieces of junk. Okay, so then the mobile Apple, iOS, is their mobile system, and that was first seen in probably, maybe not the iPhone, but I'm thinking that it was originally for the iPod Touch.
Yeah, it
Was basically an iPhone. You couldn't really make calls on a cell
Oh,
tower.
I
It didn't
love
have a
that.
cell connection. So
I
that's a
could
little piece of
Plug it
history.
into my car and just.
And so you gotta love iOS. So that's your iPad, your iPhone, and different versions of those. Which was actually no, the picture is used here. These are Microsoft products here on the picture. That was a stock photo that Vicky used for my advertisement here for mobile devices.
Yeah, I looked at that and I was
I
like,
consider
this is gonna be interesting.
the laptops and 2-in-1s and the netbook, which you don't see a netbook anymore, but I do consider those mobile devices, although it is an actual functioning PC. And so anyways, those are the Apple ones. The non-Apple ones would be, of course, Windows. And for most mobile devices these days, like most of our phones and tablets, and the Chromebook, which is interesting, the Googly brand
Yeah, I've never
Chromebook
used it.
runs on Android.
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that. Okay, yeah. So that means if you've got, for instance, well, actually, I ended up buying this 2-in-1, which I'll show you here in a little bit, from somebody locally, because she went to school and she was using a Chromebook and she was taking some college courses, and they said, okay, we need to download this app and your projects have to be turned in with these file formats that were done on Apple or PC, so it has to be done preferably Windows. She's like, oh my gosh, this Chromebook doesn't even run on Windows. I can't even so had to get something that ran Windows, and then of course Linux is awesome, but it's very impractical, unfortunately, for most consumers. So that's why I wasn't going to cover. I don't have any Linux-based stuff. But the nice thing about Linux is, and I'm going to go into software here some more, is that it's a great platform for running nothing, basically, unless it's open source.
Yeah.
But it's too bad you can't run any of the Adobe stuff on it. You can't run, so that's why I don't do it, and just because of the type of applications that I use. So here's a fun little piece of history. This was a $300 netbook. You remember these? This is from 2010. And these were designed for people who wanted to surf the net and do word processing. And they're pretty limited as far as, I mean, it's got an Intel processor. It came with Windows Vista or 7, I think. So it was whatever was big in 2009, 2010. I got, I think, at Costco or something like that. It actually ran for several years. I still do, I haven't turned it on for a year. I don't even think it has a charge in it. I haven't ran it for a couple of years. But anyways, this is great for running web-based, not necessarily graphics, but if you can pick up an old one of these, if you just want to do word processing, and it's portable and you can always find them used. And most of my word processing that I'm doing nowadays, because I'm switching devices and I've got old devices that aren't reliable as far as like hard drives and stuff like that. So I'm saving everything to Google Docs up in the cloud, and then occasionally I will save a backup copy on the hard drive. So this is what I've been using, is a refurbished MacBook from, this was made about 10 years ago, and it's got the screen was replaced on it, and sometimes the hard drive goes out, so what I use is an external hard drive, a bootable external hard drive that I have the operating system and everything on, in case that one goes out. And I have a whole different it's funny, it's like the man with two brains. And this thing, I've dropped it a million times, poured things on it. You know, it's an Apple. They're great for that, but unfortunately, they want to run your life.
Yeah.
The Apple is sort of like, you know, your grandma coming over. So I'm going to organize, you know, your spice cabinet alphabetically. It's like, no, I do it because of the sweet and savories are over here. And they say, no, this is the way everybody seems to want it these days, because we have focus groups of a whole bunch of 18-year-olds that are going to college, and this is how they want it done. So that's Apple. You got to love Apple. But one of my favorite things about this is running Logic Pro 10. So I wanted to show you my... This is one of 3 audio interfaces that I own. This is the cheapest one that I have, but it's great because it's USB powered. So that means
you can mix
the battery can power this little guy, and I can do professional phantom powered microphones with condenser microphones, and do 2-channel recordings, field recordings, or I can plug in guitars or whatever it is. And I could also plug in a third track that's just data from a keyboard or from an electronic drum set, electronic drum pad, or trigger pad or something like that, and do MIDI. And MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. It's been around for about 40 years. It replaced the voltage control system, which was also analog, but not as versatile. And MIDI is great because it has general MIDI. So that means typically when you've got MIDI channel 1, typically it thinks that's a piano. I think that's what it is. But anyways, they're very universal, and the languages are pretty easy to go from device to different devices. They can listen to each other, they can trigger each other, they can synchronize each other. And what's nice about this system here is doing mobile recording where I don't have to plug it in anywhere. So, probably the best thing to do when it comes to creative expression on mobile devices is your tablet. And I'll show you, this one is really cool because this tablet, brand new, is just over $100. It's a cheapo Walmart thing, and I've dropped it a million times. I don't know why it still survives, because it's so cheap. And
my first
mostly what I use it for
you've got that.
is
Nice.
for streaming, you know, Netflix and stuff. And this version came with this keyboard, which was another $80 or something. It came in a kit for just a little bit under $200, and they're magnetic, and so these are easy to put on, just like that. There's the magnetic stuff right there.
Mine
And
folds up
so
into a little
it's got, you could
box.
put in a mouse. It's got USB-C on it. It's got a micro SD thing in there, so you could have more storage on that. And it runs on Android, so you can do all the Android apps. So I'm going to show you some fun stuff. We do have an internet connection, but it sounds like you're probably just on that device. It's on a cell service, which is
Yeah,
cool. So
we got rid of
here is a
Wi-Fi.
fun trick too. You know how every time you upgrade your phone, there's always an assumption that you're going to upgrade your device. So turn in your old phone and we'll give you this much money that goes towards your new device. And here's what I've noticed, because I wear my devices out. This is my old phone that I was using up until last year is my main phone. And it's like a 2019 model. And it's been cracked and you name it. And the battery doesn't hold a charge for more than a day because it's so old, and I used to use it full time. But it's amazing how often this thing comes in handy.
What year is that?
2019, this is a Galaxy S9, and it's got a 6-inch screen, and I use this for so much stuff through Wi-Fi. All I got to do is get on a Wi-Fi signal. I also bought a Mexican SIM card so I can charge it up when I go to Mexico. I get a Mexican number, and I can use that until either 6 months or until I use up all my minutes and they need more pesos.
Sounds like a burner, like a Mexican burner phone.
So this used to have my American number on it, had my Portland, Oregon phone number, and then when I switched to this device here, and this is a fun phone. This is the phone I've done more creative stuff on this phone than any other phone I've ever had. And so I had my old SIM card and I put it in this one and just swapped them out. And this one I got for, it was funny, it was on Scamazon for $177 and some odd cents. And this one is called the Motorola 2021 Stylus. And it's funny,
Oh, you still have it. I thought everybody
it's called the Motorola Stylus. And so anyways, when you pull out the stylus, it already comes up with this thing here, which gives you options if you just wanted to take a note and say hi or something. And I've never actually done this, but if somebody's like, dude, take this number down really quick, and I don't want to take a couple of seconds to punch in the text thing, I can just pull this out and start drawing right away. And it's not a pressure sensitive thing, so when I push on it, it doesn't make any difference how big the line is based on how much pressure I put on it. But it is a smart stylus as compared to the passive type styluses. I don't know if that's a term, I'm just calling it now, and I'll show you that here in a sec as well. Now, as we know, a stylus is basically a pen without ink that is made for touchscreens, and the stylus goes back probably even before the 70s. But the first stylus pen that I've ever seen used was for a device called a Fairlight, and it was a sampling workstation for digital sampling. And if you ever heard an album called Peter Gabriel 3, you hear that very, very frequently on that is the Fairlight. Peter Gabriel would have digital samples of ethnic instruments like an ethnic flute.
What was the name of the instrument?
It's called a Fairlight. And a Fairlight had a big keyboard controller that weighed a ton, and then it had a screen, of course, and it was, dot matrix. It was a tube back in the day, but it had a stylus pen with a cable. It had kind of like one of those curly phone cable sort of things, if I remember correctly. And you could edit your waveforms and you could edit your samples that way. And I think you stored them on 5-inch discs. Most of the samplers, even the Synclavier, I think used 5-inch or maybe the smaller ones. But anyways, the stylus has been around for quite a long time. But my favorite stylus, this is so cool. This is a $100 stylus. I paid more for this stylus than I did this 2-in-1. And before I get into the 2-in-1, I will show you my old, this is called a Surface, Microsoft Surface. This is the POS model. The POS means piece of shit.
Well, I figured.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you're coming to that too. This was over $2,000 for this thing because it has a terabyte of storage, and the processing speed, I forget the numbers on it, but the numbers were good enough to run Adobe Premiere, which was, real-time rendering, and it still wasn't enough to do real-time rendering enough to where it was practical, so I ended up getting a big tower instead. But when I was on the road full-time, and that was when I had just a little teeny motorhome, this was all I could really use in that. And it worked for a good 2 or 3 years. This one is a 2017 model. It's the Surface Book 2. There's the Surface Pro, there's the Surface Regular, there's the Surface, and this one here, this is the Surface Teeny Weeny. And,
oh, it's cute.
yes, I bought this used here in town, not realizing that these things here are, it's still a magnetic system, kind of like my Android tablet. There we go, and it's magnetic, but it's real buggy. It's even more buggy than the Walmart thing here. So this is what I was talking about with a student here. Had to purchase one of these in order to run a Windows application. And so, anyways, software again. I'm going to go into the difference between free apps, paid apps, donationware, like Sketchbook 10. Love Sketchbook X. I think it's called 10. But anyway, Sketchbook X is my favorite graphic free app that you can use on mobile devices. And of course, I couldn't get it on this. There might be a way to get it on here if you've got an emulator or something like that. But anyways, oh, it's got facial recognition, so let me see if it'll recognize me. Let's see here, did it recognize me? Because it takes an hour to warm up, because you know how Windows is so touchy. So, paid apps. I don't have any creative apps that are paid apps except for the stuff I use for audio on my Mac products. So my MacBook, and I've got a, here it is, and I have a late 2012 iMac, a 27-inch iMac that I use for my audio recording. And I was using this on that as well, and I have a better audio interface I use on that. And then at home I have a Windows, I got a monster tower that's got, I forget the specs on it, but it's a workstation. It was actually designed for professional application video production. And so it's great for real-time rendering and stuff like that. Let me see if I can turn the screen up on this guy a little bit here. See if it'll want to work. It's still feeling touchy. So the only thing I've been doing on this, what I bought this for, was to do backgrounds for animation stuff. But in the meantime, oh, there it goes. See, it's finally starting to load some things here. It's kind of, okay, do I want to do this? No, I don't know. I'm Windows, I'm so touchy. Oh, here we go. Oh, I know, that was turning the keyboard lights on and off. There we go, that's what that was. I only got this earlier this year, but anyways, it's a Microsoft Surface like the Surface Book. It's just, that's the biggest one, that's the smallest one here. But anyways, what's nice about this stylus, and I think I was telling you I spent more on this than I did this. But then again, I bought this used and this I bought it new, so go figure. Open source, and since you're a Linux person, you know what open source is. Mm-hmm. Yay! But for our viewers at home, if I explain it correctly, an open source is basically a free application, a free piece of software that other programmers can come in and edit, and also upload different versions of it on the web, so folks can download different updates and different versions of it and things like that. And it can be a good thing or a bad thing. I've never had an unsafe open source app, but safety is an issue for a lot of people, especially using Windows. But Linux is not vulnerable like Windows because it's kind of a Unix-based, kind of like Apple too. It's just like you just don't, because you know how these operating systems in Windows have got thousands and thousands of teeny little components, and if there's any malware or anything like that, it likes to go after those little ones, and it's just a scam. It's basically
This is, yeah, it's the regular argument.
oh, mercy. And something else I wanted to get into, but before I do, I just wanted to get, how do you feel about AI as far as a tool?
Absolutely
And
not. I have no use for that.
You have no use for AI. Well, it's interesting how my
Integrate
creative
programs.
projects
I wouldn't,
have been integrating AI aspects into some of my creative projects. Because some people, they take clip art and edit different images of clip art to incorporate in their fine art, and sometimes it's a little too recognizable, and so it sort of makes up sometimes for things that people lack. I'm not that great at freehand and realism when it comes to that, and so if I could get a robot to create something and then I can trace that, as long as I'm honest about it. For instance, I did an exhibit a year ago where there was these characters that I did. Actually, I traced them on this device, and there were some photorealistic characters, and I turned them into cartoons. And then I took these files that I had done with my stylus here, with the backgrounds and everything. I exported those to a PC that I printed on handmade paper, and they turned out really good. I did about a dozen of those for an exhibit last year. And then I did another one. I don't know if you've been to Tarasco's lately, but there's these two big pictures in the back corner of these mariachi band. And they're huge. They're 40 inches long, these two canvases of this 20-piece mariachi band. And the mariachi guys were created on an AI app, and I was able to put them on an old school projector. Remember those projectors with the light bulb in the mirror? Yeah, I mean, those were before your time and my time.
no, I do remember them.
Okay,
I went
yes.
to Catholic school.
Oh, yes, so they probably
had
used some of that
everything
stuff.
with
Yes, you gotta love it. So, anyways, my favorite, and for some reason I didn't put it on my, because the Paint program here is pretty limited what you can do with just Microsoft Paint. Like this here, there we go, yay! And it doesn't quite do the pressure sensitive thing on this setting right here. So I'm just looking for my other app that is, I did some research because my, oh, here it is, it's right there on the desktop where I should have put it. And this one is called, oh my gosh, I knew I should have brought my reading glasses. It'll load here in a little bit. But I was looking for something that could do everything that Sketchbook. Okay, and so anyways, if you're interested in doing graphics at all, whether it's painting, photo editing, tracing, things like that, Sketchbook is a free app, and I think it's donationware. And there's no ads on it. It's great. I used to use it on my iPad a whole bunch, and I really, really like it. So Sketchbook, it's usually called Sketchbook X, and I'll show you that here in a little bit on my tablet. But this guy here is wanting to load very slow. This processing speed, it's like running Windows 95. It's so sluggish. So I'm just going to wait for that to load. We'll see if it ever does. I like these because they're magnetic and you can stick the stylus here.
I didn't know what kind of tablet to buy the first time I bought one. So I bought a Fire tablet.
Oh, and does that run on Android?
I had
The
to
Kindle?
wipe it and reinstall it.
Oh, okay.
Because it wouldn't take
Very,
Google?
very proprietary, right? Because it
Nothing.
wanted to run all Amazon stuff, right?
Only Amazon stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
So I
surprised.
wiped the whole thing and just reinstalled what I wanted.
Mercy. All right, so here it is, sketchbook. Yay, so what I did was I had found a photograph of the Ajo Plaza, and then let me show you my dollar stylus. I'm sure you see these all the time, and most of the time when you get a stylus, you know how the technology works.
I never really used the stylus.
Okay. Well, this runs on a battery. It runs on a quadruple A battery. I know. Who would have thunk, huh? Quadruple A? Wow. But it's funny though, our local grocery store
What
has
do you
got
buy a quadruple A battery?
Oh, Olson's, IGA, and Ace Hardware has got a bunch of weird batteries, and it's been sitting there for 10 years. So I can't believe it had a charge on it. Of course, they charged a lot for it. But this one here, I actually got this at the dollar store when it was still $1. So I got this about 5 years ago. And the way these work is that the whole thing's a conductor, and it's no different than. Okay, I'm going to pull the keyboard off here because there's no reason to keep this guy on there. There we go. So I've got it. Wait a minute. Oh, I know, I got the wrong layer here. Okay, I'm going to choose this is a 3-layer piece. And there it is. So that's my white. And I don't know if you can see it. It doesn't seem to like the controls very much. All right, so anyways, what's going on is that this device is reacting to the tiny electrical signature that my body puts out. And that's how the touch screens work. But this stylus won't work with that because it's a whole different proprietary technology.
Wow.
I'm still waiting for this. There it goes. Okay, it's called KRITA. I don't know how it's pronounced. KRITA. Creta. Something like that. So that's the open source thing I was talking about. So that's basically the same stuff that Sketchbook does, is this Creta app on Windows or Linux. There's probably an Apple version of that as well. All right, so anyways, what's going on is this stylus here, this cheapo one, is just an extension of my body. It's the tiny little electrical charge that my body puts out, and this whole thing is a conductor, and there's conductive material at the end of it that's soft. It's soft conductive material. And so, but it's not pressure sensitive, and it's pretty much what I call a passive type thing. It's not a battery operated active device like this thing here is. Sorry if I'm confusing.
No, you're not. I just have never considered using a stylus.
So, check this out.
It sounds like it would be.
This is easier to get accuracy if I'm wanting to do the palm trees here. This would be a little bit tricky to do with my fingers. And then I'm going to do the trunk like that. It's a little sluggish though, as you can see. And then, check this out. I got 3 layers. I got the background, which is black. I've got the photograph here, which I can make that disappear. And then there it is. And if I wanted to keep tracing, so I'm selecting the layer that I'm currently working with, and it's not zoomed in, so it's not like it's gonna, it works a lot better if I zoom it in. And Sketchbook is great because it's very, very user friendly. It's very smart. as opposed to this app, which I'll show you that one here in a little bit as well. And this is great because it's got a mirror image setting where you could do symmetrical type designs. Of course, you can input photographs, like I have this one input there, and then this right here is basically telling the layer to be invisible, and then I'm viewing the layer, and I'll make the background invisible, and that, let's see, that's the black background, it's with white on white, so there we go. Let me make sure I don't save that. I'm going to save the changes. Let me go to the gallery and go save current sketch, discard changes, discard. And here was another version I tried to do of the Ajo Plaza. It didn't quite turn out very well because this thing just it isn't fast enough.
It's a Christmas.
I wanted to create a ginormous file. So see the resolution on that? It's a high resolution picture. Mm-hmm. And I think this one's maybe like 4K or something crazy like that. But you can do that in Sketchbook, which is great. Most prosumer and free apps, they just assume you're going to have this little 100, maybe 500 kilobyte file, maybe a megabyte, for just posting on social media. But this is something you can make a poster out of. But unfortunately, the processing power in this little guy, when you're trying to draw these lines, there's latency, and the latency drives you crazy. Which latency, the worst thing you could do with poor latency is audio production, because if you're trying to play along or sing along with something you recorded and it's several milliseconds behind, you're just not going to be able to make anything to dance to. It's going to be just a mess. I'm going to show you a technique that I developed called gradient fills. I'm going to show you one of my pictures here. And this thing is so sluggish. Look, I clicked on it and it said, it took a while to load. This one here is a pretty big image as well. But this one I made from scratch. And it's got some symmetry to it as well. So it's almost like a mandala effect, which is really, really fun. And I like this because it functions just like a PC. So I can go Control Open. Might take a while. There it is. And here's some of my other projects. Let me show you the latest one that I did here. And this is nice because you can do poster size. With that, you can enlarge that. And the reason why I call it a gradient fill is because I'm painting the background with a setting that simulates an airbrush.
Yeah.
And then you can fill different gradients. So for instance, if there is an outline of part of your airbrush image that happens to be a certain shade of gray, you can fill that shade of gray and it'll create these really, really nifty effects. So let me see if I can go back here. And what's also neat about this stylus pen is you can hover over something. I'm not touching it. It's really hard to see it right now, but I'm not actually touching the screen. I'm hovering over it, and it's got different options, and that's because this thing is putting out a signal. Because it's hot, basically. It's not just responding to my body energy. This thing is, it's a separate device that's smart. It's thinking. It's got buttons on it, and so let me go to an earlier version of one of these. Okay, here's an earlier version before I did a lot of gradient fills on this guy here. And I'd like to do an exhibit of some of these. So this is before I started filling it a lot. I used a mirror setting on there. So I basically drew one corner and it copied these other corners. And then all I need to do, let me see if it's on the paint. No, it's still on airbrush right there. Yeah, so that's pretty cool, isn't it? And let me do another one there. Okay. And then I go to, this is very similar to Photoshop,
Yeah.
to Adobe Photoshop. Okay, so let me find Phil.
That's like the one major editing software that I'm very familiar with.
Oh, good, good. I saw my reading glasses were sitting there. No, I'm not going to, I don't have to put my reading glasses. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is on a certain top. Okay. Oh, I have to wait for it too. I think it's still processing. It's hard to know if it didn't get my task or if it got my task and it's just waiting to process. So that one there, it just didn't seem to want. There we go. Okay. This particular setting where it does the mirror image only works when you're using some kind of brush or pen mode or airbrush mode or something like that. It doesn't seem to want to do that for the fills. And then the tolerance level, which is cool though, I can change the opacity on there. I did it at 70%, so that means that's the same thing, but you can see a little bit of the background on there. You can see 30% of the background on that. It's a little bit of a different shade than that purpley one there too. And then it's really cool when you do a lower tolerance, which I can't remember how to do it on. It's a lot easier to do the tolerance setting on the sketchbook, because you can do the same technique on your Android stuff as well. And so let me choose a different color. There's my color picker right there. Let's do a bluish thing. Let's do like an electric blue thing right there. Oh, we've already got that color. Let me try that guy. And let me just see what goes on. Oh, there we go. That's really cool. So I just made a blue thing there. A blue thing. Oh, that wanted to do the whole thing. Let me just try the middle of that. That's cool. And this would take a long time if you were doing all this stuff freehand, so it's kind of cheating. And I'm all about time-saving stuff. And that's one of the wonders
I
of...
only know how to do it the old way, with the actual airbrush.
Okay, that's cool. There, yeah, so anyways, fun stuff there. Woo-hoo. Yay. And then I'll go ahead and save this version here. I'll do save as, so I'll keep that old version there. And a lot of times I'll just put on some more of these gradient fills. Maybe I'll add a layer or two on it. And then I will change.
You paint too, right?
Oh yeah, as far as doing.
So it's, you're layering it like you're layering paint.
Yes. So it's kind of like.
Or is it more like a silk screen?
It wouldn't be oil paint, because if you've ever done oils and you do a layer, sometimes it'll pick up your old layer if there's, So there are different things that you could do on some of these that you can smudge different things. But layers is great for doing an entirely separate image that you can export it by itself, or you can use for tracing. Okay, so this image here, oh, I've got the wrong stylus. Well, we got a public safety message here. Municipal power lines are down near 85 and Hayworth Road and Snyder Road. Okay, well, this is all.
This is old.
This is all like.
I knew about this.
In 5 acres, yeah. Gotta love it, huh? Okay, want to see what's underneath this thing? So I'm gonna go. Let's reveal that. Oh, wait a minute. No, I don't think. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, I know what happened. Okay. So anyways, let me I can move this layer, put it in front of that layer, and then, there we go. That's what it should have been when I was tracing it. Like that. So layers are kind of different though when you're making a painting and you've got a background that's done with acrylic paint, and then you paint over at the foreground of the characters or whatever. You know, you can't just peel that off, and you know. So probably the best like non-digital type and shadow you can kind of correlate this to, and it's more similar to like in the old animation days when they'd have a transparency.
Oh.
So they'd paint the background,
Yeah.
and then you put a transparency of Donald Duck or you know whoever it is.
Tom and Jerry.
Yeah. So there's Tom, you got a transparency for Tom, and then he's animated. And so I'm going to show you my animation. Here, I actually downloaded an animation app. So I'm like, I'm going to talk about everything, including animation. So I got a free, horrible, I mean, you talk about ads, there's an ad every second on this one here. But I thought I'd just get the most popular stupid one. It's for kids mostly. But yeah, they're just
Some of those kids programs are really fun.
Ads constantly, and they're really hard to figure out sometimes how to close something here. Golly, okay. I guess it wants me to start over again too, in another ad. But anyways, okay.
That's annoying.
Well, luckily it exported them without a watermark, which is nice because you know you get a lot of free ads. You know what a watermark is on something where it says created by something app. Free version, and you have to pay them money to have it. So, and I don't think these ones are watermarked. Let me go check my file explorer here and see what's on.
Next to watermark.
And here is something I drew last night just out of fun. Here is, they had a background, that was the background that came with it. And I decided to paint some birds.
Aww.
And then this is a GIF. You know what a GIF file is? Okay, well, you are so nerdy. That's so great.
I'm a major nerd, I'm sorry.
Woohoo! And so the GIF, for those of you watching at home,
So what kind of birds are those?
is they're blackbirds.
Oh, very
But this took me like, what, a minute or two, and I think it's only 20 or 30 frames or something like that. And those poor guys, they just keep going in that vicious circle over and over again.
confused.
And a lot of these animation apps will do, this is layers, as you can tell. There's the background layer and the foreground. And then I actually finished animating the wings first, and then I drew the rest of the body, which was just another glob. And I actually did this one with my fingertips. I didn't use a stylus at all with this. This was all done with my fingers. So, anyways.
They're kind of scary.
There was an animation app that I had on my old iPad years ago that I really, really enjoyed. And it could do frame by frame stuff like that. Most of the animation stuff that I do on my big workstation is keyframing. I don't do frame by frame. If I do a 5-minute animation project, it's keyframing as opposed to frame by frame. Are you familiar with what a keyframing is?
Not really.
I don't have any things to demonstrate today for that. I could pull up, Adobe Premiere. After Effects is one that does keyframing and stuff. That's another one of the Adobe things. But anyways, I also do motion capture. And I've got one called Character Animator. And I actually used to do motion capture on this device. And it was really cool because I used to be able to control, this was so cool, you're gonna love this. Character Animator by Adobe has got a thing where it activates your webcam, it does a scan of your face, so it knows where my eyes and mouth is, and I can move my head, close my eyes, open my mouth, I can smile, I can frown, and whatever character that I designed will follow that.
Yeah, we can do that with our phones too.
Okay, yeah. So they've got newer apps and even free apps that can do that now. And then this one had a thing, and this is where I don't have any devices that can do this right now. But because the two-in-ones, two-in-one, of course, it's both tablet and PC, is the reason why they call it a two-in-one. It's basically a PC with a touch screen. Or a PC that you can, suddenly it's a tablet, yay, and it functions just like a tablet. Everything tablet, and this functions everything like a PC. You can even stick a mouse on it unless you don't want to use your trackpad or touchpad, whatever you want to call it. So anyways, Character Animator, I was able to animate the arms separately by one track. So that means I can do it in one take, and it would be reading my face, and the touch screen, I can move this arm and this arm simultaneously as it was reading my expressions and my face. So I could actually make this character dance back and forth. It was almost like using a marionette. It was really fun. And the nice thing about that, just imagine how long that would take to do frame by frame. I would have to redraw that character hundreds of times. And that whole thing took me, for instance, if it's a 5-minute take, it took me 5 minutes to animate that character. That's how cool that is.
Wow.
And I could design my own character. I could use free templates as well. And but yeah, these mobile devices though could record that. Could also record the audio if I was doing a voiceover as well, which is really cool. Anyways, it's $259. Really, I've just done graphics today, and I've talked a little bit about music, but I'll go for a couple more minutes. And yeah, this animation app, I might show you a little later, but right now it's just wanting to be stupid right now.
Have you ever used a GoPro with a microphone?
A GoPro with a mic?
Yeah. I'm wondering how the sound would be.
Oh, you mean like an external mic?
Yeah, just like they're little.
That's probably the same system I've got right now. You see, that's my microphone right there. And
Okay,
then
probably.
I've got that on an 1/8" stereo extension cable, and that goes right into my camera. That way I don't have to do second unit audio. And I love how stupid this thing is. I went and got everything coordinated. I even saved a couple of drawings, and now it's starting completely over again. So whatever this stupid thing is, I wouldn't recommend it. But it is fun though to do frame by frame animation. And so anyways, let's get, oh I know, let's get, not that guy, these ads are so funny. Look at those, the cactus. Woo-hoo. So you can continue, and then I'm going to save it as a GIF at 10 frames per second, and I'm going to choose a background for, let's have it like in, let's have the cactus in Japan. So there's
that
a
makes
Japanese,
sense.
yeah, it makes perfect sense. So there's the Japanese waterfall, and then anyways, he wants to do a 25-second commercial. The things I wanted to get with, okay, because this is multimedia expression. I think I've talked a little bit about word processing. My favorite word processor is actually Google Docs.
Oh, that's all I use.
Great. And then sometimes I like to save a copy on a hard drive or on some type of external drive, just in case, the cloud floats away. Because as we know, cloud storage is somewhat reliable and somewhat not. So, in addition to that, here's a crazy thing you might not have thought about, but it's fun if you ever wanted to try it, is AI poetry, AI songwriting. Just input all the stuff. I know there's big ethical dilemmas about it.
No, there's not. There's AI should be used for mediocre tasks, like doing dishes, like
And so,
sweeping the floor,
so-
not creating things. That's my opinion.
yeah. But that does sound, I mean, when someone says that it should be this way, it should be that way, that sounds like a moral argument. And so it's okay to say it's a moral argument because, you know, sometimes it's a generation thing. I'm pretty moderate about this, but you get a millennial and they'll say there's absolutely nothing wrong with it as long as you say it's AI. And you say, wow, a computer wrote this poem. And so it's funny though, I actually wrote a couple of funny, dirty poems just to see what would happen. And I inputted all this information and it came out just ridiculously hilarious that a computer wrote that.
Dante keeps trying to get me to
And so
do that.
some of it's a generational thing. But anyways, chances are
Like I want.
it's going to be
AI
one of
do
those
the
things like a
mundane
steam
stuff,
train that's going to be like, you know.
not the stuff that humans enjoy doing.
So here is my dancing cactus
Aw.
on the Japanese waterfall. And let me delete that first. Wait a minute, what happened to that? Get rid of it. Okay, well, anyways, what I could do is I could make him throwing up.
There you go.
Yeah, he's throwing up something black right there.
Good deal.
And and he's creating a puddle in the air with whatever he's throwing up.
Smog.
Yes. And then, okay, so anyways, so that's it. Blech, blech, blech. So, but that took me, a matter of seconds to animate that. So that's just an example of some of the crazy stuff you can do on this. And then there are music production apps. If you're into Apple, of course, GarageBand comes with OS, Mac OS, and there's a mobile GarageBand that I've never really liked, but there are some smart features on it. One of the fun things I've done here with, especially the iPad, my iPad apps that I used 10 years ago were really, really neat to make music. There was one done by the Moog Corporation. Remember the Mini Moog? That was the little synthesizer that you heard too much of in the 70s. That can just do everything. Yeah, there was a Moog app that was something that you input your sound through a stylus or through your finger, and it was just brilliant. It was so cool. It was kind of like there's one called the VC3, I think, and that's what Roger Waters used on the second track on Dark Side of the Moon that goes. The thing itself doesn't have it. You had to use an external keyboard controller because a lot of them were just like there was like a joystick, and that was the main thing that you input to. It was just an interesting device. It didn't look like a keyboard. It didn't look like a synthesizer. It looked like a mad scientist thing. So there's emulators of all these old analog synths you can download. I think that Moog thing was like $8 or something like that. But I don't have any paid apps on here at all. These are all free. This one here, I love this. It's called the Perfect Piano. And you could, it helps if you turn it up.
Oh, that's fun.
And then let me set this one. So this is the lower octave. And that's a couple octaves up there. And so that's pretty fun.
And that's free?
That's a free app. You can record on that. Perfect Piano. You can get on your phone too. Of course, it's, really tough to play that. But if you're having trouble with that, get one of these dollar stylus things here. And you can get more accuracy like that.
What's the name of it again?
Perfect piano. I think there's ads on this one, but if there are, they're not very intrusive, obviously, 'cause I haven't seen it. This stylus pen has actually got an ink pen on there too. So a lot of times, like at the dollar
There's
store,
lots of them.
you can get one that's got an ink pen. You see this here? It's got so you can actually write real stuff with ink, and you can write virtual stuff with this guy. Yay! And then, well, we didn't get much into photos there. Can we keep going? Because I got a few things I wanted to talk about. Photos, unless you expire in an hour. But I wanted to show you one of the cool things about the Moto Stylus 2021 model. As I open up the phone app here, and that's just regular, but this has got, takes a little while. You pinch it, wide angle. Isn't that cool? It's got a wide angle mode. See, look, I can get a lot of my body in there too.
Wow.
And so that's pretty neat for a camera less than $200. And it's cool. You can see how it's kind of stretching the room a little bit too if you look at it. That's the fisheye mode.
Yeah.
On there, and I can access that just
Filters that I can use.
by giving it a pinch this way. I don't know what kind of phone you have, but it might have that. Oh, you got a perfect piano. Did you get Sketchbook X too?
Not yet.
While you're at it? Oh my gosh, I love that one. Love it, love it, love it. So here's a fun one for you. If your camera app on your phone, because they're usually not like the generic, Android camera app. It's the Samsung camera app. It's the whatever the brand phone is your default phone, your camera, as you know. But there's one called Open Camera. It's free and it's open source, and it's got more features. So here's what's cool about Open Camera. You ready for this one? Open Camera enables you, and I can't remember if this is still true and if I've tested it, but the video feature on Open Camera app will enable you to plug in an external microphone. Now you might have to have let's see here, because when you have a microphone, it just has a tip ring, and so that means it's just basically a DC current plus minus for a mono. A stereo microphone like this here will have 3 because that'll be the ground. I'm guessing it's the ground and then left and right. So that means there's 3 things. But here's the thing. These phones are equipped with 4. Hey! How you doing? Good to see you. Chances are all these devices are equipped with 4 because you've seen those headset things where you got like a headset mic, it's stereo. So anyways, you got left and right and a monophonic microphone. That's typically what you're going to get with your mobile device. So chances are you're going to have to find a device that has got 4, for instance, TRS means tip ring sleeve. That's kind of a weird technical thing though, but like if you've got an XLR cable, which is what this guy is here, also known as a microphone cable. What it's got, it's got the hot, so it's got plus and minus, but this has also got an electrical signal, so you can turn on the power and you can put in a condenser mic so it draws in more sound. It's a powered microphone. That's one type of 3 different things, basically. The guitar cable thing has just got tip ring. And so it's got the ring, which is going to be your hot, it's going to just have your plus and minus, it's a monophonic thing. A TRS is a tip ring sleeve, which means that'll be a XLR microphone cable in the form of a 1/4-inch cable. Sorry, this is just like lots of techno garble, but your headphone jack is going to be 3 different, that's going to be tip ring sleeves. So it's going to be your left, your right, and your ground, basically. Now, your mobile device, though, what I'm saying is what's different with your mobile device, well, the simple fact that it's an 1/8-inch input, unless you've got an iPhone, and those are stupid because they have no plugs in them.
That's what I have.
Oh, I'm sorry, does yours have a plug-in
It's
at all?
okay, I use Bluetooth.
Okay, so you have a Bluetooth thing that you have to buy separately that you can plug in an 1/8-inch or
Oh,
whatever.
no, it works,
Okay.
but for good sound.
Okay, yes, yes.
Like,
Okay, so what I'm saying is that this thing, it's a stereo microphone here, is a TRS. So it's going to have your ground, your tip, and it's going to have left and right. And chances are that won't work in here.
right.
Because what this wants is a monophonic microphone, and it's thinking whenever something's plugged in there, it's thinking this is going to be a stereo headphone, or it's going to be a stereo headphone with a mono microphone input.
See,
So
that's what I was wondering about the GoPro, as
Yes.
far as hooking up microphones to it. Would that be
the,
potentially a better option?
the GoPro, and this is my semi-educated guess, because every time I've ever bought either a pro camera or a prosumer camera, this is a prosumer camera right there, it's going to be a TRS. Tip ring sleeve, so it's going to have your tip is your ground, and then it's got a ring and a sleeve, and that's going to be your left and right. And so your GoPro will work with a mono or a stereo microphone,
Okay.
unless for some reason it also wants to do a playback stereo thing, which I doubt it, because of course they're not meant for playback, only for monitoring, unless it's got an output. This has, I'm pretty sure this has an output on there too. A lot of times if you're going to be monitoring something on your camera, it'll have a headphone output. The old Macs used to have input and output. This here, I've had a lot of trouble using external microphones, just plugging in without an interface. That's why I have to use this thing with this laptop. Unfortunately, this only has a headphone jack. To turn the headphone jack into an input, I still haven't figured out a way on this device to do that. So it's really frustrating. So hopefully I answered your question. I'm sorry, that was a lot of techno garble.
Yeah, you totally did.
Okay. Boy, that coffee really kicked in, didn't it?
Coffee.
So we addressed a little bit of word processing, some camera, some video, lots and lots of graphics, including animation. And I touched a little bit on audio production. There is an app that I had, I don't know if I put it on this guy, but I was trying to do some, it is such a pain to record a line input. Now mic inputs are great for an external mic and you want to, but a line input, like to put in an electric guitar, it's really hard to find a free app that you can just plug in an electric guitar. You got the right adapter, you got a 1/4 inch to an 1/8 inch. No. It wants to record from the microphone no matter what you do. It thinks it's putting a headphone in. It'll say, okay, you're monitoring it, okay? Blah, blah. It's just, they're horrible. So that's pretty much all the apps. Now, there is something called an iRig, and it's a stupid product, which is why I bought one, because basically it's just a glorified adapter. What an iRig is, I, little I, big R, I-G, was made for people using GarageBand and different, here's a nerdy term, a DAW, a DAW. DAW is Digital Audio Workstation, which is Logic Pro is what I use, or GarageBand. And GarageBand's awesome. You can make professional sounding albums on GarageBand if you know how to tweak it just right and export it and do, high quality samples and stuff like that. Sample rates. let me show you this app. Let's see if I have it in here, because I didn't end up using it, and I probably, oh, here it is, BandLab. BandLab is great if you're going to be using your microphone. But BandLab is a free app. Hardly any ads on it at all, if any. And it's a little intrusive. It wants me to log in all the time. And I don't want to. Yeah, so BandLab.
Lab.
Yes, like laboratory. So BANDLAB. And but here's the thing: is that if you're making field recordings, if you're doing journaling and stuff like that, there's Smart Recorder and Voice Recorder. Just as long as you don't have a lot of other apps running that are kind of process heavy, you can pause it. This is great for when I do what I call second unit audio. So that means I could sit here. Okay, right now it's recording, right there, just off the microphone. I can put this in my pocket, and then in post-production, I can synchronize this audio file to my video file. I do that a lot when I do live concerts, because I put one of these over by the speaker. Or, for instance, there was I think you were at that thing in May at the Plaza, and we had some folks in a microphone that was real soft-spoken. I put this in front of the amplifier. The camera was like 100 feet away. There'd be no way you could pick it up from the camera. It was from the side, and it was a real windy day. So I synchronized that in post-production, and it's so great. It's like, it just turned out so well. And so, also the nice thing about this is I'm not going to get a phone call on it, because this is my auxiliary phone. This is the one that's not currently being used. And the nice thing about this, if I don't want that file, I hit cancel, and it says all your information will be lost. Boop, there we go. And that means I don't have to delete it and then empty the trash. So that one's called Smart Recorder. You can't record phone calls on it because it's got an automatic privacy thing on there. If you're using speaker on your phone call, it'll just record silence. It'll still be running, but you'll just get silence. Same with Voice Recorder. They've all been doing those safety features the last 5 years or so on that to protect people's privacy. And then as far as that, I think we've got everything just about covered. Did you want to kind of pick my brain for anything here?
Me?
Yes.
No, I'm Jules. I just popped
Oh,
in.
you're Jules. Okay,
Yeah.
well, good to meet you. Well, thanks for coming in.
Sometimes you learn something. I was like, still not sure exactly what she wants to do with her GoPro. But
Well, just to recap, I brought in
that's okay. I
seven.
don't need to know.
I've got 7 mobile devices here. I'm just going to go real quick. This is the one I'm using for my phone here, and this is a Motorola. It was under $200 because it was an older model, and it's really cool because it's got a stylus. You just push on it, and then
Wow.
it comes out, and automatically it pulls up an app even when it's in standby mode, and right away you can just draw whatever you want.
That's pretty cool.
And then,
I've never
Wait a minute,
wanted
wait a
to get a
minute.
stylus. I figured I
There
would
we
always
go.
lose it.
That's why I was like, oh, you have your stylus? You didn't lose it?
I've lost this thing a few times because
I think my
here's the thing is that look at my case. You see how many times I've dropped this thing?
Yeah.
You can tell because the case is like falling apart literally. So sometimes when I drop it, like from a skyscraper or something, the stylus will come out on its own and I'll have to stick it back in there. But I've been pretty lucky. This is now.
I have a Motorola too. I love
Okay,
it.
yeah, this is going on about 18 months right now. I bought this February or late January of last year on Scamazon, and then this is a Galaxy. This one here is great. It's just the battery's so old in it, but I use it for so many things. There is a fun app I wanted to tell you about as well, and I actually saw one of the locals do some Facebook stuff here, and I think it's called Video Lap. Let me look for sure, see if I don't know if I still have it on here, but It's really cool. Oh yeah, here it is. Video Leap. Video, VADEOLEAP, like a leapfrog. There, and Video Leap will watermark your stuff. It's got ads. It's kind of intrusive, but I know you're not into AI, but there are AI enhancements that you could do. So, for instance, for Halloween last year, I shot a video of the conference center, people doing like, I think it was a ribbon cutting event. And then I did a feature on here where I turned all the characters into scary skeletons and stuff. And it was able to do that. So you could see the plaza, and instead of townspeople, you see skeletons and ghouls and demons and all kinds of stuff like that. And then there was another one where they turned them into all cavemen, you know.
Nice.
And instead of a dog walking by, it'd be like a dinosaur or something, you know, like a prehistoric mode. And so there are these different AI filters is what they call it. So it's based off of the audio that you used, and it just changes the video images.
Have you used CapCut?
Oh gosh, there's so many of those.
I use that one pretty regularly.
It's called, what's it called?
CapCut.
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 And does that
Yeah, you don't have
do video
glasses.
editing?
Yeah,
Okay,
video and photo.
there you go. And then a Video Leap can do simple video editing as well, but it will watermark it, so you know what the watermark is. It's a real nuisance, but if you're doing something that's not going to be used for like a creative video, a marketing video, or something like that, that you don't want that on there. Ironically, in post-production, if you put it on another device, zoom it in, you can crop it out. Or you could put your own watermark over that or something. Or you could actually buy it. You could actually pay money for it. But there's so many of these apps, and some of them are subscriptions, so they're really overpriced. I already spent almost $700, I think maybe more, just getting the Creative Cloud suite. And it's a ridiculous amount of money for my Adobe stuff. I also subscribe to WordPress, which is also pretty expensive too, and pretty useless as well. So I don't like being stuck into that. And then a little piece of history, my netbook. You don't see these anymore. And then I had a couple of two-in-ones. A two-in-one is, it's a PC and it's a tablet.
Oh, I've seen commercials.
Yeah. And that's from Microsoft. And this is also a POS model. And then, of course, the tablet. And this runs on Android. And it's the same concept. You can buy this separate. You can buy them together. This I can't believe this is a cheap Walmart brand. This thing, actually, I dropped it last week, and the screen came completely dislodged. And I just snapped it back together. And it still works barely, but the screen is all distorted, the camera's distorted. But not bad for $100 new, though. It was under $200 for that whole contraption.
Wow.
And then this guy, I think I spent about $800 on this about 6 years ago. It was refurbished, and I can't believe it still works. You can't update it.
You've got a refurbished computer that still works.
And that too, yeah. The fact that the screen was replaced on it, and that the hard drive, actually, it's funny, the internal hard drive seems to like to work now. But 3 years ago, it went totally kaput, and that's why I had this external bootable drive on there. And then, okay, so I think we went through everything. Any more last minute questions before I spend the next 2 hours packing up all this stuff?
Not me.
Yeah. Well, this was fun though, and if I do it again next year, let me know if you have any ideas about anything else you'd like to see on here if I didn't cover it. Yay. And thanks for everybody on YouTube. Sorry. Luckily, this is what we call a unidirectional microphone.